Cowboy Nation. Really appreciate you all. Thank you all for tuning in. My name is Law Nation, L-A-W Nation. We're going to talk a little bit about Lincoln Riley. News and reports out there that the Dallas Cowboys are interested. They want to bring him in for a cup of coffee to pick his brain, to see what's on his mental. And we're going to go over the Lincoln Riley experiment. It's the serious case of Lincoln. A lot of people don't know that he have a close relationship with Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, and the Joneses in general. So it's a situation where we have to look at everything and really appreciate you all. Turn your notifications on and join on in, and I'm gonna let the room fill up. But we sat back and watched the playoff today, and the reason why is because we looked at these playoff teams, and although they are in the AFC, one can argue the fact that those are beatable teams. Cowboys could beat those teams today. It's just that we didn't get a chance or opportunity. Although it's AFC, I do know we play in the NFC, but that's just the reality of it. Shout out to you, Randy. Really appreciate you for tuning in and making a donation to help grow the nation, man. Really do. Leave a comment so we can expound on what you're saying, though. But I really appreciate you for the donation, the love, and adulations, man, to help grow this thing. Hey, day by day, one day at a time, one movement at a time, and 1 inch at a time, brick by brick. We can look at this thing collectively. Shout out to you all and say that Mike McCarthy, he's out there. He interviewed. Marvin Lewis, he's out there. He interviewed. One can argue and say that he interviewed only for the defensive coordinator. Now, my thing is, I'm with the belief that the coach should assign their own players. They shouldn't be assigned their players from the owner and then try to get to know one another. I think that the coaching staff, whoever the head coach, should bring in his guys. That's my philosophy. That's what I'm thinking of. I just come from that mindset of thinking. Now, for those who love NFL retreads, this will probably be the route to go. Go with Mike. Go with I guess Josh McDaniels out there on the loop or in the loop now since the quote unquote New England Patriots lost tonight. I guess whoever the retreads from the Bills organization, you can take a look at them, Leslie Frazier and those boys, whoever that's out there, you can really take a look at them and say, well, I want those guys, you see. Or, and this is an odd case, or you can go out there and say, hey, I want a college coach that's been doing it in the college level or collegiate level, if you can say in those factors. Maybe, just maybe, they can bring in something different to this table. Now, one thing that I can say about college coaches, what have you, is this right here. When you start to look at college coaches, sometimes it can be one of those things where they jump out and you'll say, man, good grief, this college coach is bringing in something new, and it takes a while for the NFL to make those necessary adjustments. We've seen that before in the past, right? We've seen that a college coach come into this mix, and then all of a sudden you'll say to yourself, man, this college coach is bringing in some new flavor, some new funk that we never seen before. We've seen it before, right, Cowboy Nation? We've seen these type of situations before. However, the NFL is super quick, and these guys are getting paid millions and millions of dollars, and they can figure out the college coaches' schemes and these sorts of things. It's easy to do it against a guy that got to study for the next day. You know, it's easy to do against a guy that's on a Pell Grant or what have you, or student loans or what have you. But it's hard to do it against people that's making millions and millions and millions of dollars. Mm-hmm. It is. So that's how we can look at it, Cowboy Nation. And that's the reality of it. We can go by this thing line by line and say to ourselves, man, what the Cowboys are going to do with Jason Garrett, what the Cowboys are going to do now that they bring in somebody else. But I'm looking at Lincoln Riley, although he's 0-4 as it relates to the big games, the mega games, or what have you. I think that he can also bring in something that we just never seen before, because we know the Jason Garrett administration. We know the problems with Jason Garrett. We understand that Jason Garrett with this team, that it takes forever and a day. It sometimes takes it to the situation where we got our backs against the wall. Then all of a sudden things happen then, you see. That's just how it goes. McCarthy and Lewis would be a great team. This is from Randy. I do think that they will be a great team. I do think that. Believe it or not, I do think that. However, my only reservation would be, is McCarthy going to jail well with Marvin, you see? Do they have any similarities that they known to work with each other? Or will this be building the plane while it's in the air situation again, you know? Will it be one of those things where they got to get accustomed to one another? And we may see those growing pains, you see. So those are things. Shout out to you, Jones Sr. Really appreciate you for tuning in, Terrence, as well as Vincent. Shout out to Mississippi in the building. Yes, all day, every day, you know. It's crazy, Cowboy Nation, whereas we have to look at this thing from A to Z. Didn't you see them boys out in Houston, H-Town? This is from Eastside Harold. Shout out to Eastside Harold. Shout out to the Texans for making the Bills hold the L. I did a video earlier today. I got a lot of Bills Mafia people that sitting there saying, oh, Law, you wasn't saying that eight weeks ago. Remember, I'm only talking noise against the Bills because they were the ones that was trying to rub it into our faces, right? And I know that the Dallas Cowboys, we are not an organization that talk trash, or we're not an organization that responds in those type of ways. But we are the punching bags. You see, until we get some dogs on our team, somebody that's willing to talk back to the fans or willing to talk back to the media and these sorts of things. Not saying that you have to do that in order to be a successful team. However, we just have a team full of choir boys. And if they ain't in the choir, they rolling something, you see. And that's just the reality of it from our team. And we don't have nobody that can challenge the media, nobody that can call out the other teammates and these sort of things. Outside of D-Law, he did it a few times. He said he was going to go down there and punch the Saints in the mouth. To me personally, when D-Law speaks and these sorts of things, I think that he plays a little bit better. Although this year it kind of seemed like it was like a miss year for D-Law, 5 sacks, but he showed us something as relates to tackles for loss, coming off of an injured shoulder, shoulder. You know, all off season he didn't practice at all. I know people are going to hit me up and say, "Law, we're sick and tired of the excuses." But it is what it is. Shout out to you, Milky Films. Really appreciate you for tuning in. So let's see what I'm reading here. Mike Zimmer. What's the last with the odds? I guess this is the list of the odds or what have you for Cowboys coaching candidates. That's Sportsline. So if you're into betting, hey, go right here to Sportsline on the YouTube, well, on the Twitter page, and they have a plus 300 for Lincoln, a plus 200 for Urban Meyer. Dan Mullen is in the mix, Greg Roman, Matt Rule, Mike Zimmer, Chris Peterson, Eric Bieniemy, and Chris Richard. Those are the betting lines. So, I mean, it's a slim chance or odds are saying that Lincoln and Urban will be the front runners, basically, if you look at that map right there. My thing is the conversational piece with what Lincoln will bring to the table. He brings you absolutely zero. Nothing at all as it relates to the defensive side of the ball. Nothing at all. But he will bring you some creativity as it relates to offense. One can argue and say, well, if you really think about it, if you scratch your head, you can see that we had the creativity. Shout out to you, Justin D, man. All over here in the chat, man. Really appreciate you. And yeah, we did lose to Mitch Trubisky, for crying out loud. Oh, man, that was a horrible loss. But we can say this. Kellen Moore in his first year, he did bring some creativity. He did. He brought a lot of creativity. So if you really think about it, in a perfect world, you would think that, hey, Cowboys should just figure this thing out, find a way to keep Kellen Moore. See if they can find a coach that can demand something on the defensive side of the ball. And then on top of that, all offseason, they need to work on red zone, green zone, money zone, gold zone, whatever zone you want to call it. They need to work on that. They do. They need to work on that. Everything else would be pretty cool because now this is going to be into his second year. And remember, I was telling a lot of people that you can't squeeze experience out of nothing. Experience is something that you're just going to have to go through and learn. Unfortunately, old folks used to say this, and they still say this to this day. If you think you're going through something, just keep living, baby. Just keep living. You think you're going through that? Just keep living. They say that, all the time. They bring in that type of temperaments as it relates to old folks. You guys know how they bring in those truths as it relates to those things, And that's the reality, Cowboy Nation. That is the reality. Even with Lincoln Riley, even if you think about it with Mike McCarthy, he's going to have to figure out Jerry Jones's ways. So it's a lot of things that we have to add into the mix. So as much as we kind of want to dismiss Jason Garrett, but we got to look at it from these things. Jason Garrett been here for 10 freaking years. One can say, 13 collectively, right? Or more. So we got to look at the total picture. We got to look at everything from A to Z. And we have to say to ourselves, will this particular team find that right coach? Will we get into the mix of sitting there saying to ourselves, man, thank you for the donation to help grow the nation. Really appreciate it. Let the AI speak on it.
Law, do you think Lewis was interviewed for DC and not HC?
I think that Marvin Lewis was interviewed for DC, not the overall head coach.
It's Mattress Firm's year-end sale.
See what
he's out. If he is out,
let's see what they're talking about.
Who will be the next Dallas Cowboys head coach? All right, we got a lot of different candidates. Broadus, I believe you've put together a list, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But before we get to some of the specifics on that list, let's shut down one thing that Sean and RJ talked about this morning. It was very entertaining, but I do believe you can, in fact, confirm that there's no chance in hell that's going to happen. Is Bill Belichick coming here?
No, I was talking to some people actually in the New Orleans.
Before they go into this topic, this is from 105.3 The Fan. Check out their radio.com and check out their website, 105.3 The Fan. They're going to go over the good, the bad, the ugly. You guys know I love those topics. And they're going to go over who should be the head coach. This was previously posted yesterday. So still fresh out there. I really think that the way that the Patriots lost tonight, it could be a strong chance and a strong opportunity for us to squeeze somebody off of their particular coaching staff. But this is an old wait and see moment. The Dallas Cowboys are in love with Jason Garrett, so they might allow Jason Garrett to be in this Dallas Cowboys organization until January the 14th. What they're betting on and what they're trying to say to themselves is maybe one of these coaches can look at it and say, you know what? I like Jason Garrett. Let's make him a such and such position. Or they might circumvent this thing and give Jason Garrett one of those general managers positionings. You see, it could be something like that. I don't know. Because you don't hold on to somebody that long. And then on top of that, you don't give the person or allow the person to give the exit interviews and say, hey, I'm looking forward to seeing you next year. I'm looking forward to seeing you out there on the field and these sorts. So there's a lot of moving pieces or strange pieces in this thing.
A New England organization about this, and they're kind of like,
we're focused on the Titans.
We're focused on the Titans. No, but I was asking about contracts and how long and amounts and stuff like that, and they said, trust me, this contract is pretty ironclad for Belichick. And Sean brought up an interesting thing though. Would the fact that Robert Kraft maybe upsetting Bill Belichick because of Tom Brady, stuff like that. My guys were kind of like, I don't see that really happening there. Bill's got control of what he needs to do in this organization, stuff like that. They just do not see that type of a split there with that. So I would eliminate Bill Belichick just from what the people in the New England organization said about Bill. Not so much about working for Jerry Jones. It's about Bill leaving New England.
Okay. Gotcha. And then, all right, well then can we go with somebody, and then I'll let you dictate the order after this. Well, what do you think about the prospect of Mike Zimmer? Because Mike Zimmer is somebody that I threw out there that I think is intriguing, and I do kind of wonder about his job status based off of what happens this weekend against the Saints. What do we think about that? And just real quick, I want to head this up. In the 815, because you hear this a lot, Mike Zimmer as the DC paired with Lincoln Riley. I just don't envision a scenario. And
all right, so here's why I don't, and this is my first time listening again to this particular interview. I really appreciate you all. I don't think that Zim is going to be a guy to sit back and say, well, I'll be the DC. And then on top of that, I think that the Vikings came out and said, you know what, we love Zim. Now, it's all predicated upon what they're going to do tomorrow. Shout out to the Saints because that's who they play. And I think that the Saints are looking for revenge, or the Vikings looking for revenge. One of those things, right? I think the Vikings looking for revenge, right? Which one of those teams beat each other last time in the playoff? Was it the Saints or the Vikings? I'm getting mixed up with my years. But I'm thinking one of those teams, it's going to be a battle match. It should be a good game, basically. That's how we should look at it. So it's depending on how they lose, whether or not somebody's going to go off the roster as it relates to the coaching staff for the Vikings. It's going to be something like that. So although they came out and showed their cards and say, hey, we intending on keeping Zim, but however, we know how those storylines go, right? Let's go. Let's go.
Which he slides down.
Not at all.
Bob Money said, bring back Garrett.
We needed to get rid of that. But what about him as potentially the head coach?
Well, we need to figure out if, in fact, that they do have a loss this week against the Saints. There is a young coach there, Stefanik, who is the offensive coordinator that the Wolf family really, really likes. And, you know, Mike is a guy, I've described him as sandpaper. And, you know, the Wolves might look at this as a situation. We do not want to lose this young coordinator. We think that he's got a bright future. We think he could be a potential head coach.
Appreciate you, Cole.
You know, if we have to make a move, we'll make a move because Mike is as nice as he's done of winning games, getting them into playoffs and stuff like that. You know, the Wolves might say we just can't afford to lose this coordinator, so they might make that move. Alexander. And then, but you know, I've also heard from some people about with Mike Zimmer that working with Jerry Jones might not have been his best things. That might have been his best time. I think he respects the Jones family and all that, but if he's out of a job, maybe all those bets are off. You know, maybe things are.
I think that the way Zim and Parcells, they kind of bumped heads with each other. I think that it was like the philosophy of the defense, one believing in 4-3, the other believing in 3-4. And it was like, a measurement contest. And unfortunately, Zim lost, but he was still able to will and command those guys. And then the opportunity opened up for him to go to Cincinnati land, and he went to Cincinnati. Then from Cincinnati, he rolled over to the Vikings where he at now. Now, the reason why Lincoln is the head person in this topic of conversation is because I believe somewhere between now and I think in the next 4 days, Lincoln Riley, he comes in and he's going to interview with the Jones family. And I'm thinking that the Jones family is going to look at Lincoln and say, what do you bring to the table to the Dallas Cowboys? What is your philosophy? What are you going to do to improve this offense? Why should we give you this money bag, right? Because that's the nature of the conversation. And then on top of that, what is he going to do different from Kellen Moore, you see? And they're going to bring in the same interview with Kellen Moore. How will you work with Lincoln, you see? Do you feel like you should belong as a head coach, or do you want to be a head coach? That would be a crazy promotion for him, right? That's a rapid promotion to go from a quarterback's coach to an offensive coordinator and then ultimately be a head coach within the next 3 years. You see, that's crazy. So it's going to be hard for the Cowboys to justify Kellen Moore to be a head coach. And then on the flip side, it's going to be hard for Lincoln to justify the reason why he should be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys and what he's going to bring to the table differently, you see, outside of his angle of going into the system and saying that, hey, my resume speaks for itself. And I doubt it, because the one thing that everybody going to call for with Lincoln Riley will be this right here. Bruh, you 0-4 when the game counted the most. They're going to always show that in front of Lincoln. And they're going to say, what do you bring to the table different from Kellen Moore? That's what the question is going to be. Y'all can comment down in the comment box or the chat box, depending on which channel you're watching on, and let me know, what do Lincoln Riley brings to the table opposed to a Kellen Moore, opposed to a Zim, opposed to a Mike McCarthy, opposed to even Marvin Lewis, or opposed to the $100 million question or $30 million question. What do Lincoln Riley brings to the table different from, I'm going to say this, Jason Garrett? I'm waiting. You say. We're going to wait on that, right? I'm going to read your comments.
Or, maybe things will be able to get put to a side, and then he's going to come in here and have that opportunity. We all agree that the defense has been, at least this year was the issue as far as, they had some really nice games. Offense let them down on some games. But if you said going forward, you feel better about the Cowboys offensively than you do. Now, maybe you don't if Amari Cooper doesn't come back here.
Yeah, that's true.
But you got this offensive line. You got Dak Prescott's not probably going to be here. And you talk about Ezekiel Elliott. So if you go defense, Mike Zimmer seems to be a guy. But would Mike Zimmer want to come and work here?
And that's where you say maybe not.
That's where I think that we have to ask that question. Everybody kind of is connecting the dots of Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones and Mike Zimmer. But, if Mike Zimmer, doesn't have a job, does he want to come here, or would he entertain, like Ron Rivera did, moving on to some other locale?
The betting favorite right now, 3-1, is Josh McDaniels, and that's somebody we have heard a lot. And as much as I would hate that, because what makes you think he'll succeed, you have some interesting insight about Josh McDaniels.
Talking not to New England people, but some other sources around the league, they say a very rigid guy.
All right, so before we go into further details of it, we got a chance to see Josh McDaniels tonight, and I'm going to read some of your comments. Some people said that, I think Locks, you said that Lincoln will maybe want to call the plays, as a head coach. Yeah, I agree. Lincoln is already connected with the Jones family. This is from John Tucker. Any other Lincoln questions out there? Let me see what we have. I'm going to stroll up just a little bit. And Cole says Riley brings absolutely nothing we don't have already. You're right. It just be a new wrinkle per se. It will be a new wrinkle, and I may be 100% wrong. You see, sometimes you bring in a new philosophy, a new coach, and he might strip out everything. Lincoln might look at it and say, every quarterback that I touched excelled. So he can say, hey, I'm the quarterback whisperer. But so far, the short resume that we have so far on John Kitna, one can argue and say, man, nobody improved Dak Prescott more than John Kitna. Look the way he was going through his progression. Look the way he was going through his reads. Although he wasn't the accurate quarterback of all time last year or this year, however you want to look at it, you can argue and say this right here. At least we saw some type of growth potentials with John Kitna. And that's only out of 1 year. Can you imagine year 2 with John Kitna? When you lose to 50 points, you're not ready for the NFL. This is from Randy. Shout out to you. Advanced Scout 706 says hard to improve our offense number-wise. Next guy needs to be efficient in the great in the red zone. You're 100% right. You are right. Aloha to you, young Wilson. Really appreciate you. Niners and Ravens rematch. This is Derek Savage. You're talking about the Super Bowl. No doubt. But I think I was going more so with Saints Ravens. I think that would probably be possible. But we'll find out tomorrow, right? Bring on Mike McCarthy. This is from Randy. Yeah. Let's listen to more.
And maybe that the Jones family would not
Riley
embrace
is a QB coach.
him as a coach because of how rigid he is from the program he's from. The Jones family, they want to have a good time. They want to be able to have a good relationship with their head coach. That's the thing. Bill Parcells had a better relationship with Stephen Jones than he did Jerry Jones. If he needed something done, he went through Stephen. Not that he didn't respect Jerry Jones and all that, but Bill Parcells is not a come up, hug me, put your arm around me kind of guy. Feel all that good.
I heard that one Bill Parcells story.
Oh no, absolutely, yeah, the one Bill Parcells. Yeah. We tell that every year.
Yeah.
But to me, this is where I had somebody say, "Be careful about Josh McDaniels because he is a very, very rigid guy." Would the Joneses like to have a coach that is that type? Well, we'll see.
All right. I don't know if you have this
Q,
person on your
what's good
list,
with
but
you,
I
fam?
wanted to bring him up real quick because this is not a name I feel like I've heard at all. Yet when I looked at betting odds today, he is the second favorite to take the job.
Who's that?
It's Robert Saleh, the defensive coordinator from the 49ers. I know that is not a name that we had really discussed, and that's why I was so intrigued by it, because when I saw him pop up at 4-1, I was like, oh, I haven't heard this name at all.
Robert Saleh, the defensive coordinator for the 49ers. Bob Money, if he's in the house, he can give us some intel on Robert Saleh. My only thing is this right here. Strength of schedule, and trust me, the Saints played in the same division, close to the same situation where similar teams that the 49ers played. Of course, we can argue that, and so is the Seahawks or what have you. I'm just having my reservations on the 49ers a little bit. I don't know whether or not they are fool's gold. I do know that they had tons, and I'm talking about tons of first-round draft grades as it relates to defensive players, because they've been picking in the first round for a long, long time. So it could be a product of that. And I don't want to pull the trigger on Robert Saleh and then he fool around and come over here to Dallas and he folds up like a lawn chair because he can't handle the total pressure. Remember, you can't pick your nose in Dallas. It'll be heard all around the world. You have the the forehead. Oh, my bad. You have Stephen A. Smith talking about, look at this guy picking his nose, you see. You can't do certain things in Dallas. You just can't, you see. It's a different type of temperament. Shout out to Jason Garrett because he was rarely rattled as it relates to media pressure. You got to be really ready. And this is not me lying to kick it. Dallas is a whole nother animal, Look, they selling T-shirts, of Dak Prescott doing warm-up drills that's been done all over the world for many of years before Dak Prescott even thought about playing quarterback. It's one of those things. Shout out to your doomsday. Let the AI speak.
I think McCarthy would be a great hire for the Cowboys. Let's go.
Let's go with it. Let's go.
Yeah, that's a guy I need to do a lot more research on.
He's the dark horse.
He is a dark horse, yeah. And this might be one of the things. That's why I asked Mickey the question: is there somebody we're not focusing on? And Robert Saleh would be that guy to me.
Okay.
You talk about, he done a great job.
That means
outstanding personnel though with the San Francisco 49ers. You look at what they've done as far as adding talent to their roster, especially using high picks, first-round picks on defensive players. I think that whole crew, the San Francisco, they want to give you want to give the old safety a lot of credit. The GM there, John Lynch, you want to give him credit. But talking to some people around the league, they're saying no. Kyle Shanahan's the one that really runs that organization.
Okay,
so. With Kyle Shanahan and what he's been able to do, Robert Saleh has had some success. Their defense has played a lot better. They have the personnel to play better with all those that defensive line, the linebackers, the corners, the safeties. They've done a great job with that defense. I don't know if he's ready for this particular time to be that guy. I think that maybe you want to, Mickey was talking about, do you want a guy that doesn't have that kind of experience, that head coaching experience?
My thing is, before he goes into more details, like everybody's saying in the comment box, everything is pointing towards Mike McCarthy because he have the experience. He does have the Super Bowl experience. I think that he can build a team. I think that he can help out Dak Prescott. Remember, although Dak Prescott is not an Aaron Rodgers was mobile and is still mobile. I think that Dak Prescott is mobile when he want to, and I think that with a different type of coaching thought track, it could be Mike McCarthy, because Mike McCarthy, if I'm Mike McCarthy, the first thing that I do when I interview with Jerry Wayne Jones, I'll make sure that I have my ring polished and shined. You see, I have it just sitting on my hand. You know what I mean? And I'll just let him see it, glistening, and say, Jerry, hold on. Cowboy Nation, help me out. Help me out with this. I just had an epiphany. Didn't Mike McCarthy won the Super Bowl in Big D? Wasn't it at Texas Stadium, Arlington Stadium, however you want to call it? Let me know. If I'm McCarthy, I would go in with that T-shirt, you know what I'm saying, of Texas Stadium, Arlington Stadium, whatever you want to call it. And I would come in with the T-shirt on, you see what I'm saying? And first I have my blazer suit jacket on, and I say, oh, Jerry's getting hot in here. I take my shirt off, you see what I'm saying? I take the blazer off and I show him, hey, you remember this shirt, Jerry? You want another one of these? Oh, my goodness. Yes, indeed. That would be crazy. Perry Locke, really appreciate you. He won it out in our stadium. Yes, that would be crazy. You see what I'm saying? You can say, hey, Jerry, I've been working on analytics all this off season and all this season as well. I've been trying to build a team. I've been looking at numbers. I've been looking at everything. Hey, I'm your guy. Now, I don't care who you go out there and handpick as it relates to defensive coordinator, but I guarantee you your offense will be well polished. That's crazy. Let that sink into your mental.
Do you want to wait and
catch,
do you
no
want
catch.
to have to go to another development of a guy that's having to kind of learn on the job? I just feel like, though, that this is why we probably won't see Robert Saleh.
Shout out to you, Derek
Not
Thomas.
to say that people don't want to talk to him, but I think that they need a little bit more of an established guy.
All right, now that I've gotten to run through some of my candidates, who's next on your list?
2010 in Arlington, right?
Kicks off the rest of your list? Because I know you went through some of the pros and definitely some of the cons of some of these candidates.
Yeah, I kind of feel like, though, that to me you have to, I wanted to make sure that from the guys I've talked to and stuff like that, I just wanted to make sure that you had an idea. I personally myself would love to see them have that opportunity to visit with Lincoln Riley. But then I make a mention of that to people around the league, and they're talking about, they're going, well, when you watch him play, do you see play action game? Do you see pro style concepts? I like the fact that he can move the football. I really, really do. But the pro guys are telling me that, like, wait a minute now. You don't see a big play action game. You see a lot of shotgun, you see a lot of inside run. And I said, well, that's kind of what the game is going to. And they're like, no, there's some concepts that he is absolutely – he goes, you watch his offense, there are some concepts that don't translate very well to pro football. So I'm like, well, I test, see a guy – throwing the ball down the field, having a little bit of inside run, read option stuff, getting the quarterback involved. But to a man, there were people that says, I wouldn't necessarily go that route.
And then something that we were just discussing with Mickey is he said, I don't want somebody learning how to be an NFL coach on the job. Not to say that you had to have already been an NFL coach, but at least a coordinator or something like that. That would seemingly on its surface kind of disqualify Lincoln Riley. And then the conversation, I know you heard part of it a few weeks ago, we had with Jerry Jones, and he said overwhelmingly the largest failure rates for new coaches are from the college ranks.
Yeah, but the best candidates might be from the college ranks. If you throw a guy in there, if depending on what you think about Urban Meyer, and I had another guy tell me about Urban Meyer. He's like, Urban Meyer had to play 3 games a year at Ohio State, and then all of a sudden, no, he has a heart attack in those 3 games. How is he going to handle a complete NFL schedule?
Yeah, oh my goodness. He said Urban Meyer had a heart attack. Yeah, it was very brutal for Urban Meyer, man. May he find restitution and health and all of those things as it relates to overall collective well-being. Natasha, she says, Riley is 0-4 in playoffs, but would he do better if he had a better defense? That is a conundrum. That is what we call a conundrum. meaning that he's been there for more than 4 years or 4 terms or what have you. And you would think after the first attempt and after the second attempt, maybe, just maybe, he can focus in and horn in on some defensive parameters. Yes, that will be the end goal for, or the all goal for my guy, Lincoln Riley. Now, remember, Cowboy Nation, we all, including me, I said that right now that that we would want somebody different outside of Jason Garrett. So if everybody that's in here at the sound of my voice, if you still Team Garrett, let me know. Now, if you're not Team Garrett, say no Garrett. Or what did my guy, what's my guy? Shango Live, when I was watching his page, and he put down FG, meaning fire Garrett. Although the Cowboys are or will not fire Garrett, but you guys can just put in FG if you want Garrett gone, and let's get somebody else. Now, if you're looking at it and you look at the historical data, and you'll say to yourself and you convince yourself, Law, this is an even year. So that means we're going to the playoff. Remember, Garrett is a guy, you see, that does well on even years, you see. So that could be the situation, Jason Garrett for XFL. I see a lot of FGs. I guess that's the trigger word. Yeah, fire Garrett, man. So a lot of people saying that, hey, let's just move on. I seen some people post before, a Rock can coach better than Jason Garrett. Please, it'll be the same results. Put the Rock out there. McCarthy don't suck. This is from Locks. Yeah, I agree. He don't suck. And just like when Garrett played that highlight reel, and then all of a sudden they played the L.A. Rams like no other, I said to myself, and I think I went live, and I said, man, I hope he got some more highlight reels. Oh, that was one hell of a highlight reel. Shout out to you, Chuck. He's over here on the Facebook panel. He put FG. And Cole, he put down no Garrett. So collectively speaking, it's maybe only 1 or 2 people saying, yeah, let's go with Jason Garrett. And then we might have to check their credentials because they may be an Eagles fan or they may be Stephen A. Smith watching this show so he can get some material. Or Shannon Sharp, Shay Sharp, so they can get some materials.
Okay,
go.
But you can maybe say some of the same things about with what you think with Lincoln Riley. Do you see enough? You see a guy that has taken a couple different quarterbacks. He's had success. He had success with Dak Prescott. He's a guy that's a young guy, well-liked, knows how to recruit, knows how to evaluate, has took a team at Mississippi State that ended up being number 1 in the country. And you went in there to
that is the craziest
and
thing
you look
ever.
At, and you look at his roster after Dak Prescott left, and you're like, where are all the first round picks? And they're not a lot of first round. They had some defensive players that turned out to be pretty good. But Dan Mullen, I think, is a name you absolutely have to keep an eye on. Is that kind of that dark horse guy. If you're going to put Robert Saleh up there, keep an eye on Dan Mullen as well.
And Dan Mullen is tied for 8th. And most likely, along with Gary Kubiak and Mike Zimmer.
Shout out
Jim
to you,
Harbaugh
Ross.
is up there for some reason as well. I would be quite surprised to see that go down. Josh McDaniels 1, Robert Saleh 2, Lincoln Riley 3. You mentioned Urban Meyer. He's tied for 4 with Greg Roman.
Yeah.
So I know vastly different candidates there, but do you have?
They had no Matt Rule involved there at all.
Matt
right?
Rule is next on the list, along with Eric Bieniemy, who that is somebody that we have talked about as well. Where do you stand on Matt Rule then?
Well, Matt Rule, from what I know, and I have friends on the Baylor staff, and they've done a tremendous job in a situation that was very difficult out there. Very organized guy, very tough-minded guy, has a lot of respect from the players. Baylor is preparing for him to leave. They realized that, hey, they needed somebody to bring them back from just utter disaster down there. And Matt Rule has come in there. He's turned things around. He's made the culture. If Matt Rule leaves, I guarantee you there's coaches on that staff that can maintain what's going on with Baylor. He built that kind of staff, did a great job of the interaction, hired some Texas high school football coaches, some successful ones, to go down there and help him in Waco. They've done a great job with all that and kind of reconnecting with the Texas high school coaches. So if Matt Rule moves on, I'm sure Baylor will be in good hands. But I have heard nothing but positivity coming out of coaches that have worked with Matt Rule, how he's able to interact with the staff, how he interacts with the school, how he interacts with the community. All things very positive, very focused, very driven type of a guy.
After going through this research, and I know it's way early and things might evolve, but is there somebody that you think this fits the bill of who the Cowboys would want, and then is there somebody who fits the bill of
Jason
this is
Garrett,
who Brian Broaddus would want to run his team?
Well, I've said all along that Lincoln Riley, and I'm trying not to get talked out of somebody telling me about schemes because I think he would be good. I think that Lincoln Riley, I would take the shot on Lincoln Riley because I think Lincoln Riley will figure things out. I think he'll come up with some concepts. He's like, okay, this is how I want to move the football. But to me, give me a young staff. Give me some guys with ideas. Give me guys that are a little bit hungry to learn. And I'm not saying learn on the job, but willing to try some things, willing to go out and do some things in order to be different. I really do believe that pro football is turning into college football, especially with what we've seen with the Ravens. And you're starting to see these quarterbacks. It used to be like you had to take quarterbacks and make them be on the roster for 2 or 3 years before you played them. Now,
here's the thing. Before the wonderful Brian Broaddus go into his last soliloquy here, I want to say this. We give the young phenom Samuel Action Jackson all of the love and credits and all those things, and whatever his name is, Jackson kid. We give him all of the love and adulations, right? And we know for sure that I call the man Samuel Jackson. What's his name, man? Y'all put his name down again. Boy, his name crossed my mind. What's his name, man? Put his name down. Jackson, man. Jeez, I lost my mind, man. What's his name? We give him all of the love and adulations. Lamar, good Lord, I had a brain tease, man. I called the man Samuel Jackson. I'm thinking about Samuel L. Jackson. Lamar Jackson, boy. I'm tired of these snakes on this mother-sucking plane. Man. Charge it to my head, not my heart, Ravens Nation, if you guys so happen to watch. I'm calling Samuel L. Jackson Lamar Jackson. But we got to see it. We still got to see it in the playoff, and everything condenses in the playoff. Everything, you can't fold like that in the playoff. We did see a Lamar Jackson lose to the Browns. We did see Lamar Jackson struggled with the Browns the second time around, although the Browns unfortunately caved in the second half. So what I'm trying to say is, although we like the situation that they was doing all year, we love the system that they was running from and these sort of things with the twin tight ends, like the 12 personnel with the tight ends that can run up the field vertically, and we love what we was able to see with the defense. However, I think that the boy over there in Kansas City have a higher ceiling. That's what I think. Shout out to Rue. He said, it's late, Law, so you get a pass, basically, right? Janet Jackson. Oh, my goodness. They don't want to see Janet Jackson out there again, right? Yeah, or Freddie Jackson, all of the Jacksons out there. It is what it is. So my thing is, Cowboy Nation, it's a big old placeholder because people still leaning on more so of the Pat Mahomes of the world who can give you a little bit of everything. Now, I do know that Lamar Jackson had some wonderful numbers displayed all throughout the season, but we will see. We will see. It's still a big old placeholder on that, as far as the NFL collectively changing to fit and bend his will, to Lamar Jackson's will. My thing is, we will see. We shall soon see. Jet Jackson, Michael Jackson, Jesse Jackson, Freddie Jackson. Y'all got all of the Jacksons. Yes, indeed, Cowboy Nation. Let's go.
Now you go in there, you get them in your system, you adapt them to your scheme, and then you find ways to make them have success. I just see too much success with Lincoln Riley. He is my guy to be that guy.
Randy
I just
Jackson.
feel like,
Forgot about Randy.
If I'm going to put all my eggs in one basket, that's the basket I'm putting it in.
All right. There you go.
So that was the end of that interview. So my brother from another mother, no other, don't look like Danny Glover, but keep it cool with us, Brian Broaddus. He's saying that, hey, he putting all of his chips on the card or on the deck on this guy, Lincoln Riley. So he said that he can get creative. He can identify with this young, talented team. He'll be able to see the struggles that they had last year, fix those things, and make in-game adjustments. He'll probably be able to do that. Now, this is the thing. Although, we were able to see a team put up 50 points on them, however, what my girl Natasha said earlier, we going to have to be in deep, deep searching for that defensive coordinator, that DC. The Jackson 5 from Pablo. Ron Humford, man, really appreciate you for tuning in to the nation. It's 10:30 in San Diego land. Shout out to San Diego. Yes. So my thing is, Cowboy and Deshaun Jackson. Shout out to your Marcus Callaway, the best way. My thing is, Cowboy Nation, if you go out there and you pull the trigger on Lincoln Riley, figurative speaking, don't want nobody to pull the trigger on nobody, right? Percy Jackson. Boy, y'all know some Jacksons, baby. Andrew Jackson. That's Money Jackson right there, Jones Family Hustle. Anybody got some Andrew Jacksons, y'all can send them along my way and help grow the donation to help grow the nation, baby. Action Jackson and Bo Jackson. Boy, it's a Jackson. Jackson. Somebody named their child Jackson. Let me know. But here's the thing, Cowboy Nation. As we begin to look at this thing collectively, and we would say to ourselves, man, if, and I'm going to say this is with a big if you get your boy Lincoln Riley into the house, and this is what Brian Broaddus is saying, maybe he will be able to identify with the loose ends that we had on our offense, because although we was number one collectively total yards, we was like in the bottom half as it relates to red zone, money zone, green zone. Maybe you bring in Lincoln, he can revamp this situation. Don't have the love affair that old Jason Garrett had for Jason Witten and all of those older players that was on his team. Maybe he can cut bait with some of these guys. Bring in a veteran. I'm going to repeat. Bring in a veteran quarterback to sit behind Dak Prescott or put some pressure on Dak Prescott. And then on top of that, that will translate into, hey, better overall skill sets for this team as it relates to money zone, green zone. And then he would sit back and give, because it's all about power with the Joneses, and give the power back to the Joneses and put the pressure on them to find that defensive coordinator. So you got to coordinate. You see, Mark Jackson, what's up with you? The famous Jet Jackson. Boy, y'all know Dexter Jackson. Lovey Smith 09 says, what about Lovey Smith as the DC? That's a good one. Because if you use Lovey Smith as the defensive coordinator, there would not be that much of an overhaul change on Reggie Jackson. It would be not that much of an overall change as it relates to this defense. However, show a thumbs up in the chat. Who is tired of the cover 2 scheme? You see, let me know. Stonewall Jackson. This is from Naha Black. Really appreciate you. Marvin Lewis as a defensive coordinator. Oh, here's my only battle cry for Marvin Lewis. I know that you are only known for the last thing that you left on the resume. A lot of people look at Marvin Lewis as it relates to what he left from, as it relates to the Cincinnati Bengals and beyond. However, I'm looking at this total piece and sitting there saying that, hey, you relinquished some of the powers that Marvin Lewis had while he was in Cincinnati land, and you go all the way back. And you peel that thing all the way back to when he was the defensive coordinator or when he was on the coaching staff as it relates to the Ravens. See, I see a lot of thumbs up there. So A lot of people tired of the cover 2. So what I'm saying is that you bring in something. No more Tampa 2. No more Tampa 2. Look, even if you play Madden, stop playing Tampa 2 because you're getting ate up in the middle of the field and you're wondering why that drag route is always open in the flats and they're eating you up because you're in that cover 2. Get out of the cover 2. I might help you win a Madden game at least. Here's the thing. If you go back to when Marvin was out there coaching and developing players as it relates to Ravens land, and if we look at some of the defenses around the NFL, the Romeo Crennel, have you said that man's name, the Leslie Frazier's of the world, all of those guys, I think Romeo was offense and defense or what have you, but I like it when they sit back and they used to be a head coach. Now they fall back, and now they are some type of, or even you can throw Wade Phillips in before his team got old. You see a lot of thumbs up, a lot of people tired of this cover 2 scheme. But if you somehow find that Marvin, yeah, bring him on. Jerry Wayne would look like a brilliant guy of scouting and bringing in a guy that was, I guess, had 8-8, and nobody saw coming. Nobody saw him coming. Marvin Lewis and Mike McCarthy. Yeah, I think that on the large scale of everything, Marvin is very humbled in a sense because he had a horrible years and he had some bad luck too. Carson Palmer and the other kid from Texas, TCU, I forgot his name, the quarterback there, had some horrible injuries and some Levi Jackson and Jamie Kyle. Really appreciate you, man. Yeah. So, I mean, we can look at all of those things and think about this. Thumbs up, Law. This is from Daryl Shop. Really appreciate you. 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson. Boy, man, some famous Jacksons, man. Anybody in the chat, man, last name Jackson, let me know. Yes, indeed. Thought that we were getting Lincoln Riley. A lot of people thinking that they are talking about Lincoln Riley. It is what it is, Cowboy Nation. It's one of those things where we will have to look at this picture and say what we said before. Will it be anybody can be better than Jason Garrett? Will it be anybody that will be better than Jason Garrett? They're 8-8. They're 8-8. It says, Law, Justin D says, shout out to you, Law. Basically, he said, Law, can you close that Jason Garrett clapping gif? Man, it's distracting. Here's the thing. I said I was going to leave it up until he's actually gone from the team. So that was his last battle clap, He's just clapping away. Maybe, just maybe, Jerry Jones, if he don't want to get rid of Jason Garrett, maybe there's a new position that they can open up in the NFL. Call it the clapping coordinator, in-game clapping coordinator. You know how in the stadium, if those who went to the game this year, when we are up, we do this thing what we call wave. Yes, the Cowboy Stadium still do the wave. Maybe Jason Garrett can be that guy that can still start off the clapping. You see, on the sideline, he just start clapping, and then everybody know, hey, that's the clue to start clapping. And he'll get back to his natural ways. Let me stop picking on Jason Garrett. That's still my guy, right? Marcus Callaway said, leave it up. Shout out to you all, man. Clap on, clap off. Yes, indeed. Ryan Humphert is about getting the most out of every player. This is from Ryan Humphert. He says Mike Zim for defensive coordinator. My only thing is, we love the Mike Zimmer, or I call him Zimmerman, but Mike Zim piece. We love his acumen. We love his insight. We love his thoughts. We love what he can do out there as it relates to defensive coordinator. But I can guarantee you, the moment if Jason Garrett, just like Stephen Jones and Trent Difford and Jerry Jones said, Jason Garrett will be very sought after. He will be one of those guys that a lot of people will be running to the deal to get him as a head coach. I just think that if Zim is out there, there's no way that 31 other teams or 30 other teams will look at it and say, we pass on Zim. There's no way. They're going to look at it and say, hey, this is an opportunity to get some identities established with our team, and we'll make him the head coach. That's just the reality of it. Jeremy Campbell, Riley is leaving. Yes, it says he's leaving. So that's the news, and that's the flavor for the day, man, with all of that. Cowboy Nation, I didn't talk to you all long enough. It's 54 minutes and 16 seconds. Just want to do a quick read out to all of those who supported the channel, man. I really appreciate you. Shout out to Carrie Coleman for joining the membership. She joined the Gold Elite status. If you ever notice why you have that unique logo or image, just like Natasha have right there, she got the star, and you see people with some of the NFL helmets, they have the star on it. Those are people who contribute to the elite status. Everybody's elite in my eyes, but we have different tiers. We have silver, gold, and platinum, and it's just for you to stand out as relates to Cowboys followers and content of my channel. And I really appreciate you all that making the donations to help grow the nation. Thank those who support this channel, man. Thank those who even support the channel just by watching. Randy, one of the highlights of the day, man, he donated $10 in the thing. Really appreciate you. Donated another $5, man. What about
Gary Kubiak as DC?
Gary Kubiak as the defensive coordinator. His name been bounced around, Randy. I would still have to do a little bit more research on it. I do. I don't even know where he's at right now. Doomsday Messiah, really appreciate you, 1960. Somebody in the chat, help my brother out from another mother, no other. Don't look like Danny Glover. Help him out. He said, what about Gary Kubiak? Do you guys feel that Gary Kubiak would be a great input for this team? Let me know. Who else we have here, man? I really do appreciate you all. Thank you all for being such a wonderful appearance today, especially at this impromptu time. It's 12:40 where I'm at. And don't forget, Cowboy Nation, put down where you all are from. I love to hear people say that they from Tampa Bay, Florida, or they from the UK, or they from Italy, or they from Backdoor, Mississippi, like Natchez, Mississippi, where I'm from. And shout out to you all that's right here in Texas: Oak Cliff, Richardson, DeSoto, Waxahachie. Did I mention Donkinville? Please. Shout out to you all. Sean Payton, this is from John Sparks. What a dream. What a dream that would be, right? All right, Cowboy Nation. You said you heard my daughter back there. Yeah, you guys got some good ears. Yes. You know my voice, Carrie. She walking around. She's still up too. Shout out to you all. Cincinnati, Ohio. Sacramento in the house. Yes, indeed. Louisiana. And all of those, like Natasha from Tennessee. That's what I'm talking about. Let's go, Cowboy Nation. That's been my time. I really, really do thank you all for yours. And remember, you're listening to nothing but the best. Let's go, Cowboy Nation. Let's go. McCarthy. Riley. How about get both of them, huh? Let's make an all-star coaching squad. There's no salary cap as it relates to coaching. Shout out to Memphis, Texas, New Jersey. What's up? Kansas in the house. Yes, indeed, baby. Let's go. We out. Right, one day at a time, one movement at a time. Brick by brick. Let's grow this thing just like my beard. Let's grow it back.